You always like, well, not always. Sometimes you get a thought like, am I being weird right now? Like, is this weird? How did you not know what you were in bed with? Like, that's what's so strange to me. Yeah, their biological dad was doing that thing some guys do, you know, where they run multiple families that don't ever meet each other. They'd both been given a talk that they had a brother named Bill.
Easy lately, standing for what's right.
Now we can officially welcome Nerd City to the show. I've been keeping him to myself like a selfish woman.
All right, hello everybody.
Professional streamer. I'm sitting here with one of my biggest influences messing up my stream, but it happens. OBS.
Yeah, sorry to
go
throw a
ahead.
stick in your spokes there.
It's all right. It's all right. Awesome. Okay, cool. So let me continue this video now.
To it. I was hoping that if I made a video about Ethan, he would act like an adult and he would keep the attacks directed at me and Anissa. Unfortunately, I was wrong in thinking that because Ethan, in a desperate attempt to attack and smear Anissa and I, he started attacking our charity event.
I don't know if you know this, but the last year they lost $250,000. To be charitable, you actually have to give money to charity, Hassan. You have to give money to be charity. It's like a slush fund for them.
Ethan and Hila are well aware that we raised $1.3 million for charity the first year of Creator Clash. The second year we operated at a loss, and I take full responsibility for that. We did band together. The community and the fighters involved ended up raising $175,000 for charity. It's been really disheartening to see how often Ethan will attack Creator Clash through us or attack us through Creator Clash.
Ian and Anissa, masters of putting on an event.
He's
Nerd City, have you ever thought about getting in the old boxing ring and throwing gloves with someone?
I would like to. I mean, if I was like in my early 20s, I think I would have done it. But I'd feel like it would be like the later Rocky movies if I did it. You know, I'd be training like the trash truck rather than the sports car. You know.
I think you'd be a draw.
I don't know. I would. I like competing. I like sports. I like training. So I would be. I would enjoy it, but I just think I don't know. I think I'm past my prime for being the in the ring. Let's say.
If you were gonna do it, was there anybody in particular that you would want to square up against?
Well, I don't like most people, so I guess I'd be happy fighting pretty much anybody.
Put them on. I don't care who it is. These hands are rated E for everyone.
Yeah.
Posting random troll accounts that are very easy to vet. If you click on this profile, it has a bunch of Sam Hyde adjacent posts, and it just hates Anissa and I. Come on, dude, you're one step away from calling me a cuck. Just take the plunge. He's highlighting this post that equates Creator Clash to a crypto rug pull. He's saying the event is going to be worse than TanaCon. Can't wait for them to blame us for their failed event. Don't worry, Hila. I'm not going to blame you guys for anything Creator Clash related. I know you're terrified of taking accountability for anything, so that will rest solely on my shoulders. But I can't speak for the internet. The internet might actually blame you guys for it. Now, with this recent revelation that people are just going to use Creator Clash to attack Anissa and I have decided to step away from Creator Clash. We have relinquished control to our business partners who ran the previous two events. They're very capable. They know exactly what they're doing. They run events on a regular basis. The event is still happening. Anissa and I just don't have any financial ties. We don't have any ownership. We are, you know, I think just going to be known as the founders of the event. Yeah.
A lot of people have been giving him a lot of crap about this, saying that he kind of ruined the event, and then because of his release of the H3 Content Cop, and now he's just walking away and breaking all financial ties. So now if it's a failure, it's almost like he can kind of
And blaming Ethan.
Yeah.
That's very strange. You know, he picked that fight as a way to get attention towards Creator Clash, and if he would have won the argument resoundingly, then it would have been beneficial for Creator Clash, right? So
I agree.
if he feels like there's a lot of negative attention and people rooting for it to fail, I think that's a reflection on the gamble he made with bringing Content Cop back and having it so close to the event, and then attacking someone who everyone perceived to be his friend. So I don't really like, he's kind of saying, this is on my shoulders, but he also is he's highlighting that they mentioned Creator Clash a few times in the response to the drama. And of course he would. It's like months away. And also, it doesn't really seem like anything he said would have resulted in the event not being a success. Like, how was he getting in the way, you know?
Yeah, and I think too, you know, yeah, Ethan did say, like, you know, I wish that iDubbz would have went to bat for me more, but at the same time, it's also like you didn't need to do a whole Content Cop on him as a reply. And it seems like he had this Content Cop in the works for a while, well before H3H3 even said that. Because look at all the people he got to fly into Hassan's place to do like the Fortnite dancing. And, you know, for a minute there, I thought when the video started, I thought we were going to get maybe that iDubbz still had it a little bit. And then he completely rips off the cop outfit and it just sits down and it becomes more bread tube again. And everybody's like, we got the got on this. Well, would you look at that?
Yeah, he waded into
total badass.
a topic that, I mean, you could spend your life researching it and devoted to it and still come up short in like 50% of people's eyes. So, you know, it's like wading into abortion rights or something that's like a 50-50 opinion. That's, you know, it was almost doomed to have half the people not like it, even if it wasn't splitting up a friendship. So yeah, of course it wasn't going to satisfy everybody this time. He talked about Israel Palestine. I mean, for fuck's sake, like you gotta really go deep on that. Like Louis Theroux, the greatest documentarian arguably in the world, just dropped the documentary The Settlers, and obviously that angered people because it's a controversial issue, and it's someone who normally, you know, everybody praises. So I feel like there was a lot of hubris at work here. It was a big gamble. Sometimes gambles pay off, but this time, you know, it was kind of like a Hail Mary that just, you know, the ball landed out of bounds. Yeah. I'm going to respectfully ask the chat not to spam the emotes and the super chats while I have Nerd City on, please. Well, what are they doing?
Well,
they're spelling a tower?
Yeah,
Hamas?
So they have this thing where they like to super chat me and put like 100 emojis so that they could see me just sit here with a 1,000-mile stare while all the emojis get read off. But I'm going to ask everybody, since I have Nerd City on, to not do that, or else I'll have to mute the super chats. So I don't want to have to do that.
How do you read the emojis?
I have a TTS that comes over.
Oh, it's TTS. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So they've been having fun with that, which typically doesn't bother me. But if I have a guest on, I want to be respectful to you. I can't have you giving me a great, breakdown of something, and then all of a sudden it's like dog emoji. So,
I don't even hear I don't hear that because I'm talking to you in Discord. So.
Yeah. So please, I appreciate you guys super chatting. But if you want to super chat regular stuff, then that's fine, but please do not spam the emojis or I'll have them mute.
Is that a hint to stop yapping? I'll take the hint.
No, this was going on well before you got here. I think that you're absolutely right, though. What did the guy from Epic Mealtime say? He goes, well, I signed up to do a boxing for charity, and now all of a sudden I feel like I'm fighting for Palestine. So, it's not exactly the type of event I want to be involved in. That was Harley Morrison, I think his name is. From Epic Mealtime.
And he's Jewish as well.
Yeah, that's putting him in a really awkward position. And as of right now, he was the main event and the big draw for this. So,
and with how much he defended them last time, he deserved to have this go a little smoother than that, and to be the main event. You know,
I couldn't agree more. He was like in 1v16s at certain points defending last Creator Clash, and for them to do that to him this time, it just kind of shows you just how much iDubbz has lost the plot.
Yeah, it's confusing, man. I know both of those guys. You know, like I haven't been over their houses or anything, but I've hung out with iDubbz probably like 5 times, and I've talked to Ethan a lot over the years. I mentioned in the interview that he helped me, like he was instrumental in me figuring out some parts of YouTube early on. So he's always been a very like collaborative, useful, friendly person behind the scenes with me. I've talked with him about, you know, a number of things. We'll tip each other off about stuff. So I know their personalities a bit. What I can say that I think is strange is iDubbz and Anissa seem to be alienating a lot of their natural allies. You know, the same way that I talk about Ethan, you know, being really friendly and nice to me, I've said the same thing about iDubbz. He has always been nice behind the scenes, and we had the what I thought was the beginnings of a friendship at one point. I felt kind of the way that I would talk about it was kind of the way that you would talk about talking with me. It's like, hey, there's a guy whose content I like, and it's nice to talk with him as a peer, as an equal or whatever. So it was a thrill for me at first because I really liked his content. Yeah. And then as time went on, they just seemed to be cutting off communication in some ways. Like suddenly Anissa blocked me on Twitter, and I still have no idea why, because the last time I saw the two of them in Tampa at a Jake Paul fight, this is when they were planning Creator Clash 1, I think. The last time I saw iDubbz, he gave me a hug, and I said something nice to Anissa about when she was doing commentary, and there was nothing awkward or weird on my end. We talked about Sam Hyde, and I tried to kind of feel him out on the Sam Hyde thing, and we didn't, you know, totally agree about everything, but that's fine. And then afterwards, I don't know exactly the order of events, but she blocked me on Twitter, and then for Creator Clash, let's see, was this Creator Clash 1 or 2? It's been a couple years now, so I forget.
For 2, the 2 was after the Sam Hyde stuff. The first one was a pretty big success, and then I think the documentary happened between Creator Clash 1 and Creator Clash 2. Correct me if I'm wrong, though, Fellaine. She's my resident iDubbz expert, but I think that was...
Did they move? Where was the first Creator Clash held? Just refresh my memory here. Maybe I should search that up.
I know was that one big stadiums?
Was that one in California or Florida?
Florida does ring a bell. Let me just double check here, so we're not. Creator Clash 1. That was in Tampa, Florida.
Okay. This would have been when they were planning for the event. So they were kind of like, I guess they were scouting the Jake Paul thing and scouting the arena as a potential place to host the first one. Yeah, okay. So the first one was against Dr. Mike.
And he lost both of his fights pretty badly, from what I remember. Yeah. So, and a lot of people said the only reason he even had the idea for Creator Clash was because, well, actually, okay, now that clears my mind a little bit. So the Sam Hyde documentary went before Creator Clash because a lot of people say that him boxing Sam Hyde under that bridge the one day is what influenced iDubbz to do the Creator Clash in the first place. So he did do the Sam Hyde documentary, I think, before first Creator Clash. So
you want to hear a crazy piece of lore that ties all this together?
Heck yeah.
I just asked Sam Hyde about this to solve this mystery. So something like 4 or 5 years ago at a VidCon, it's like maybe I was in, let's see, I think I was traveling for VidCon, or I was visiting Max. Can't remember. I got a random DM from Sam Hyde that was like, "Hey, I'm shooting a car show. Do you want to come be a guest for an episode?" And before I had decided what I wanted to do about that, I was thinking about it, and I had never spoken to him I hadn't spoken to him very much at that point, and I hadn't really gotten a feel for like how he thought about me. So I didn't know if he thought, you know, that I was like the enemy or a retard or didn't trust me. I didn't know if I would be the mark on the show. You know what I mean? Like, I just kept thinking of, okay, Car Show. This might be like Jerry Seinfeld's creator. What did he call that? Comedians getting coffee.
Yeah, comedians in cars getting coffee.
That's right. And he would drive really fast and scare people, right? Like, he'd get reactions, I think, like Ricky Gervais and Bill Burr going like, you know, slow down.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like driving an ancient Porsche really fast or something, I think. So that kind of came to mind, where I'm like, you know, I think Sam might think that's funny, and if that might be the point of the show. So I talked to at VidCon, I was at a party and I was talking to like Wang and Leon Lush and Dick Masterson, and I said to Dick, yeah, good blunt rotation.
Yeah.
And I said to I told Dick that I liked his interview with Sam Hyde, and Sam Hyde had come up at that point, and I go, oh, hey, he just invited me to do this car show, but I don't know if I'm like the mark or whether I would be like the guest. I don't know how what I would be adding to the show. And I go, for all I know, yeah, I mean, like, it could be like where I go up there and we have a talk and then we talk about cars, or it could be something where like he hands me a pair of boxing gloves and says, we're going to box now, and then puts me in a car and drives really fast to try to scare me. And Dick Masterson goes, nah, he wouldn't do that. And I was like, oh, okay. And then as I was leaving, I go, oh, and I had a bunch of recreational products. So I was like really stoned all of a sudden. And I was like, all right, I need to go back to my room. So I'm like, all right, see you later, guys. Sorry, I'm super stoned all of a sudden. And Dick Masterson goes, oh, is that the problem? And I'm like, oh. So as I'm leaving, you know, like when you're high, you always like, well, not always. Sometimes you get a thought like, am I being weird right now? Like, is this weird? And so if somebody is going like, yes, you are,
yeah,
you know, like you are being very strange, then that makes it a lot worse, right? So as I'm leaving, I'm like, what did I say that was so weird? And I thought about that for a while. So I always remembered what I'd said to Dick, which was, this show with Sam might be he hands me boxing gloves and tells me we're going to box, and then puts me in a car and drives really fast. And then fast forward a couple years, when he does that documentary with iDubbz, that's exactly what he did.
Yep. Under a bridge, like, too, like in some random area.
Yeah, he handed him boxing gloves and said it made him box, and established dominance, basically, you know. And so I started to think like, well, did Dick call Sam and say, I mean, how did it end up being exactly the same? So I always wondered, like, did that become a gossip thing? And then Sam was like, you know, that's a good meme. I might actually do that to somebody. And then he did it to iDubbz,
he rented that slingshot too and acted like it was his favorite car in the world, even though the steering wheel was like shaking on it. So the slingshot alone with the top down probably made it even scarier too.
It's like the Reliant Robin. It's like America's version of that. Very strange car.
It is.
So I always wondered, like, did Dick call Sam and say, Nerd had this stupid thought that you were going to do these things to him? And Sam's like, all right, well, I will do that then. Or did I just guess it exactly right because I know Sam really well? Or I know the way he thinks or something. I just thought it was such a strange coincidence. So when I talked to Sam the other night about something unrelated, I'm like, hey, I always wanted to ask you. And I tell him the story I just told you. And he goes, no, you just guessed it, man. He's like, you figured it out. He's like, I believe in coincidences or whatever.
Yeah, that's
like, all right.
And trying to guess whatever Sam Hyde's going to do is something really hard because he's so unpredictable. That
exactly. Intentionally so. He does not do what you want him to do.
I've seen his TED talk that he gave that I think is the funniest thing ever because he did it in Philadelphia where I am, and, I just know how Philly people are, and they probably thought he was like very profound, and they didn't probably think that he was trolling them at all. But that is such a great moment in internet history is his TED talk.
I agree. I love that. That was I think that might have been one of the first things I'd seen from him. I think I'd seen some videos on 4chan before that, but that was when I really started putting together that he was like a comedian, sort of Andy Kaufman kind of figure.
Yeah. All right, you ready?
Anyway, yes. Back to the slop.
Back to the slop.
I mean, I think it had to come to this eventually. I can't keep my mouth shut. I can't, I mean, I can. I just didn't want to. I want to be frank. I want to be honest. I was very quiet during the second Creator Clash because I was afraid of how that would impact other people. This year I said I'm going to do something different. I'm going to fight back if someone's trying to attack me. So that's what I did. And now I've realized, like, I can't really have my cake and eat it too. It's either you're going to talk shit like a foul beast on the internet, or you're going to have a charity event. You know, it really can't be both. I'm very proud of the event that we made with Creator Clash. It's still happening, June 28th. I'm just not going to be involved in it. Please, for the love of God, support this event. You know, I feel like in some ways I'm like cutting off an arm so that I could escape the bear trap, and so I can fight. Well, that's a bad analogy. You guys get it. We've already told all the fighters, and it seems like most people understand that this is the best move. If the previous Content Cop was entertaining to you, or this video is entertaining, or you like the message, the best thing that you can do, for me, is to support Creator Clash. Buy a ticket, buy a pay-per-view ticket, an in-person ticket, or donate to the fundraiser. I just want to see this event do well. You know, I didn't try this shit because I thought I was going to be a good boxer. I didn't think I would be an awesome event organizer. And, you know, now I'm finally back to where I started, which is making fucking Content Cop videos. I don't want to make this too ham-fisted, but I kind of do want to make it ham-fisted because I'm like, I spent my last fucking 4 years working on this stupid boxing shit. I mean, it was worth it, absolutely. But, like, it's crazy that I've just returned to Content Cop. Having said all that, Creator Clash ticket link down in the description. Go check it out, buy tickets, support the charity, support the fighters, and have a good-ass time. I mean, ultimately, I think it's a good...
It's really insane to me that his message here would have been 10 times more effective like 3 weeks ago than it is now. And probably even more effective than that a few years ago. But I feel like him saying, if you like me and you support what I'm saying, go to Creator Clash is probably, might as well just be saying, if you disagree with what I've done, don't go. How do you feel about this, his basically stepping away and you know, saying still go though?
I don't understand the move. I don't understand why step away. It still is tied to him. And the attention and the hope for it to fail will, you know, let's say the angriest part of H3's community is still going to keep track of whether people show up and what the ticket sales are. And guys like, you know, Kino Casino and stuff are going to be checking ticket sales. So like, that's not going to stop just because they, if anything, I think it'll make more people blame them if it fails, because it'll be like, well, you guys were the draw and the main promoters. So if nobody shows up or the boxers don't get paid or something terrible like that happens, then they're still gonna get blamed. So I don't really understand strategically why they would do this.
I couldn't
Maybe
agree
he
more.
Explains that more. Is there more? Yeah, there's like a lot more to that video, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
426 in. All right, let's keep going. We'll see if he gives any more. I do believe he goes, this is like his only time. I don't know why he didn't mention Creator Clash in his first video, though, because I feel like that one was the one that had millions and millions of views. Now this one's at 3 days with 1.7, which ain't bad. I mean, it's not like he's falling off or anything, but you know,
he doesn't really like to advertise. He doesn't want to ask his fans to do things, you know?
Yeah. I've never been in that situation where I've been, you know, that well known of a figure to know what that feels like. But I guess, you know, you got to be a little careful about when and how you ask people for certain things. That makes sense.
Thing, because I think I am meant to roll around in shit. I think me and Ethan are both meant to be rolling around in pig shit all day long, and other people are meant to do boxing or debating or whatever else. Ethan and me, pig shit rolling around type of fellas.
You underestimate my strength! I've got kosher strength! The will of Allah! I mean Yahweh! Yahweh!
I think the worst criticisms I labeled at Ethan is that he's a bad boss, a tyrant of a boss. I just implied that he was being taken advantage of by people either in his community or outside of his community, and I called him a bitch-made coward. That was like the summary of personal insults labeled at Ethan. Before Ethan even knew what my video was about.
Did you want to add something there? The bitch-made coward?
I'm just kind of cringing at how hard he's going at that. Like, that's not something you can say about somebody and then stay friends.
Yeah. I don't see them ever becoming friends again. I think that lines have been crossed.
Well, fucking why not, man? Like, what was the big problem? When I watched the pieces I saw assembled, basically iDubbz's content cop on him. But the gist of it, if I had to summarize it, it's like the reason to make it was that Ian had been rude. No, sorry, that Ethan had been overly demanding about asking them to step in and clarify that they, as someone who's been there, someone who knows them, that they aren't abusive towards their kids and take good care of their dogs, that their house isn't like a disaster or like a bacterial slime fest or whatever. So he was overly, I don't know, maybe entitled sounding in asking them to contradict their editor, and he didn't like that. And then he found some clips of him kind of sniding him on his podcast.
I think he does talk about the poop stuff later on in this video, about the dog poop and the Giardia and all that stuff.
But everything I saw from him, it did not warrant a public split and a backstab and a content cop. I didn't see the reason for not settling this privately.
And you're not alone. No, and you're not alone. I think that's that's why your buddy Gokunar said he'd eat a shoe if it was about H3H3, which, by the way, Gokunar did eat the shoe. So props to him.
Oh yeah. It made me sick.
Yeah, I don't know how he ate 2 shoes, by the way, not just one. He ate a flip flop and a kid's shoe from Build-A-Bear. But I thought the same thing. I was taking all kinds of L's on X for saying I doubt it's going to be about H3 because I just didn't see the warrant for it. But once you realize the people that he's kind of fallen in for, it makes a whole lot more sense. And it all comes back to Palestine, which is, I don't know, just something that seems to just follow around American culture, and it's a thorn in everybody's side.
Well, how did Ethan become the effigy to hang over the invasion of Gaza? Because Ethan is like 95% on the same page with Hassan about it. You know, like this isn't someone who seems to be spreading propaganda. Like he's just saying sort of like the most basic things, sticking up for his own type of person, his own tribe, you know? Mm-hmm. Like, of course he's Jewish. Of course he's going to have a perspective that will not want like to eradicate his own group, you know? It's like, he can't go so far as to say anything that I'm sorry not to like demonetize you. He can't go so far as to say certain slogans or to justify the worst atrocities. And so like, what more do you want from him? It's like he already is saying things like that the settlements are illegal. He's condemning everything you would want him to condemn. So like, aren't there bigger targets, like, you know, people who are unrepentantly defending what Israel is doing and who are actually lying about it? I don't see Ethan doing a whole lot of content where he's spreading propaganda about it, right? He doesn't even cover it that much.
I feel he's just speaking from somebody who is, you know, got family in Israel. His wife's from there. She served in the military, and I think he's just trying to be like, you know, while I agree with a lot of the strategic points you're mentioning about like the foundation of Israel, I disagree in the way that we're kind of going about it, where we're, saying, like we're just basically alienating a whole percentage of the population, and there's protests at schools, and he was preaching to how, like, as somebody who is, Jewish, that, what that phrasing means from the river to the, how that affects him and what it means to him. And a lot of people, well, how they can be on that end of the thing is.
Oh, that's another interesting topic. Yeah. But yeah, as far as the, as far as what they wanted him to say or not say, it seems like he's pretty much in line with them. So why are they focusing on him so much? There's something I wanted to say about that. Oh yeah, he met Ela on a heritage trip or whatever, where any Jewish kid can have a free trip to Israel, paid for by like some NGO or a charity or something. And that's how he met Ela. He was getting better. I think he was like in between jobs or college or whatever, and he went over on one of those trips and he met Ela on a trip like that. So of course he's going to have a perspective that, sees things from the inside, let's say. I just think it's weird that he became the target for all of this justifiable anger about the visuals and the tragedies that we're seeing come out of that situation. Ethan has got nothing to do with it, and he's not really carrying water for it. So I find the attacks from people like Bad Empanada to be like psychotic and misdirected, like a total misdirection of energy. And that's so this is the interesting thing. We're watching in real time Ethan gripping, having to come to grips with the fact that this political movement that he aligned himself with has no problem lying, and because they've separated themselves from a morality that would that values like consistency. So seeing themselves as part of a revolution, they do whatever is in the interest of the revolution. So like every moral choice is about the means that you have available, and if you have better means, then you do something more moral, but if you don't, then you do something that is not ideal, and that could include lying, and does. So it's driving him crazy now that he's the target of it, and he's seeing like, oh, half of some percentage of my audience now, having done this collaboration with Hassan, this show with Hassan, they have moral relativism as their backbone rather than a static morality. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's anytime you get, as you call, you get wrecked on the rocks. Anytime you talk about that kind of stuff, you're getting wrecked on the rocks. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. Well, this is an observation of what's happening. Like whether I think that that's the best strategy or not, like that. Let's not get into that. But what we are seeing him do is like he is very struck constantly by the lying, and you saw that in his debate with Hassan. He kept calling him a liar. And in some of his streams afterwards, he keeps saying, like, I can't believe how much he lies. Like, he's just this pathological liar. And he brings up particular points where he's like, he knows that I don't coordinate with the ADL. I've never spoken to the ADL. And I have never spoken to Destiny, he says. So he's like, why does he keep saying that I'm coordinating with Destiny? He's like, he keeps repeating these lies. And it's driving Ethan nuts. And like I definitely have noticed that prior to this, that like that moral relativism is something that Reddit is all in on. I think that's where I really learned it, is when I started trying to correct misunderstandings that people from Reddit were pushing, and people coming from Marxist YouTubers.
Yeah.
They would make an accusation, and I would go, "Oh no, see, it's not like that. It's like this." And then they would react in a way that didn't seem like they cared about the truth and were still like angry, and were actually kind of like more angry at me the more I talked to them. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. It's almost like I can't clear up. It's almost like they have something they're actually mad about that isn't what they're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that took me a little bit to wrap my head. Like, I got it now. Okay. When somebody does that shit to me, it's like, now I know when they're just doing a smear and they don't actually believe what they're saying. You know, like sometimes I can spot that now. I wasn't spotting that at first, you know? And I think Ethan is catching on to this even later than me. He's starting to realize, like, oh, fuck, you know, this gang I've joined, like my team, the way we operate is it just like, it's not tied to reality a lot of times.
I almost feel like they respect you more if you just flat out disagree with everything they say, as opposed to agreeing with some things and then not other things. That seems like that really makes them even more angry if you agree with some stuff but not everything. That's what I
noticed. They hate an apostate more than anyone. You know, there's so much of that purification, the endless purification of holding people accountable, that that someone who 95% agrees with them, and then there's this 5% thing where they've screwed up. Like it almost is like, because they know so much about you and they've stored so many little weaknesses and things, like they really go full blast at a person like that, instead of in a way that they don't against someone who disagrees with everything they're saying from a distance.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
He was already framing me as anti-Semitic.
But he's like, no, actually, Ethan, the fucking Jew bag. Fuck this Jew bag Zionist baby killer, guys, right?
I don't know if that's what the video is.
I'm one of you. I fucking hate Jews too, guys. Let's get after it. Israelis have no right to defend themselves, actually. All Israelis are settlers, actually. What is he going to give me a history lesson now? Is he a historian? Yeah, he just discovered.
Thank you, Core. Appreciate the membership.
Empathy, by the way, and only extends to the point where you're actually talking about Jewish people or Israelis. Then empathy stops, and they should all be murdered. Bro's actually out there like Timothy McVeigh. He's running to the closest fucking kindergarten to blow it up. There's a Jew. I heard there's a Jewish.
That's not what Timothy McVeigh did.
They want all you guys to quit, and for me to just be like alone. Little Jew boy alone.
Like Ethan, under a year ago, was saying he doesn't use anti-Semitism in that way. He's not a guy to call anything and everything anti-Semitic.
You know, in my whole life, I've never screamed foul on anti-Semitism. I literally have been getting this shit since the second I stepped foot on the internet, and I have never fucking ever done this. Okay, so the people online are saying, "Oh, Ethan's making himself a victim," or "Ethan's making everything about anti-Semitism." I've done this once in my life right now.
But he's like, no, actually, Ethan, the fucking Jew bag. Fuck this Jew bag Zionist baby killer, guys, right?
I don't know if that's what the video is.
I mean, I get that he's scared and offended, but this was the whole fucking point of my video, Ethan. I was saying that you shouldn't be doing this. It led to me making this video in the first place. You were triggered by this CPS harassment thing, and then you immediately equated Anissa and I to it. That was sloppy, and that was horrendous, and it was horrendous for us. And now you're doing it again.
I'm going to watch it live.
Should you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. But, like, why?
I just don't think, I feel like you're going to get really emotional and say something you regret.
Which, by the way, I feel, I think this might be why iDubbz is a little angry, like angrier this time around, because if you watch H3's reaction to this, he did not hold back at all. He went in on iDubbz. Even when they did the part where he was nice and said, say something nice about Ethan, he was just like, oh, that's real nice of you to say, and then would say something, you know, mean to him. So I guess in a way, this is why this is kind of amped up to a much more personalized rolling around in pig shit, as iDubbz refers.
Well, the betrayal is real, man. Like, when Ethan is right to say that when he had Ian and Anissa on, I think several times, they were not at their peak of popularity. Like, they were people who already were getting a lot of heat, were screwing up, you know, we're starting to become unpopular. We're starting to be treated a little bit like lol cows. And so having them on and letting them address their critics and taking them seriously, and even just putting Anissa next to Ian like that was not a visual that everyone was used to. So they gave Anissa, you know, that was one of the first times that Anissa had been put on the exact same pedestal as Ian and treated like an equal in content creation. That was a big deal for them to do that. And it did help their event. So, I mean, I would be, I would feel very angry and incensed if somebody who I had been going to bat for and helping when it didn't benefit me necessarily. If all of a sudden, you know, like I have a bad evening and I say like, why don't you defend me on Twitter? And I say like a nasty text to them, then all of a sudden they do an exposed video on me. Like I would be furious, you know? So like, I understand more outrage coming from Ethan. It seems like a totally disproportionate response to the behind the scenes. I wouldn't even say it's drama. It's like behind the scenes moments of awkwardness.
Yeah, and
right?
I think that that's the main reason why. Well, no, I mean the arguments that iDubbz laid out are terrible, but the main reason that so many people are just so turned off by this whole incident is because of all the defending that H3 was doing when iDubbz was doing his I disavow every content cop and all the people who liked him. And, you know, Ethan was defending him throughout that whole thing. And when it came time for Ian to kind of return the favor when H3 was taking heat, he was like, no, you know what? In fact, not only am I not going to defend you, I'm going to help paint you as a bad guy. So
Right. And that would have been the time for Ian to step up and do the same thing that Ethan and Neela had done for them when they were not popular because of the response to the criticism of her OnlyFans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he made several appearances on their show to address that controversy, you know, and where Ethan was on his side.
I totally agree.
So why not? Why couldn't you do the same thing about these crazy leftists are trying to get my kids taken away because I don't think they should say, I don't think they should support the Houthis or whatever, you know, like or whatever the fuck it is. It's like that. Why was that such an unreasonable? That seems like even less of an ask.
Yeah, it's like what have you done for me lately? And just ignoring all like the legwork that he's done over the past years. And you know, H3 took a lot of heat for defending iDubbz. It's not like it was a light amount. Like he took a lot, and it just seems like iDubbz like, you know what? That's it. I'm Team Hassan now, and he's become that crazy leftist that, you know, H3 has been, finding out slow and fast that he doesn't want to attract anymore. The Communist Party.
Yeah,
that's I don't know how else to describe them. The Communist
Party. How did you not know what you were in bed with? Like that's what's so strange to me. Like how much is Ethan just riding the waves of the I don't know, political movement and the sentiment of what most of the viewership is potential viewership is feeling, and how much is this actually his own internal ideological journey, I guess. I don't know, you know. It just seems the timing is awfully in sync with the election, you know, the split with Hassan.
Yep. Yeah. It's the timing is definitely peculiar. All right, we'll keep going. If you want me to stop at any point, just be like,
I'll try not to yap unless you ask me something.
All right, sounds good.
Well, I've got the button.
Like, I know you don't have a problem taking it head on, but I just feel
of course
like
not, because I know that
you're understandably upset, and I feel like it might be a little.
Should we wait to talk about it, or you want to talk about it?
You should do it off stream. Because I don't know. This escalated initially because we were live, and you guys were heated about. I forget what it was.
I just think it might be wise to watch it, think out your thoughts, and respond in a calm way, because there's no chance that you don't get heated.
I don't need to fucking pre-watch this. I don't need someone else to hold my hand through it. Like, I'm ready to take on anything that these people have to say about me. He's like, no, actually, Ethan, the fucking Jew bag. Fuck this Jew bag Zionist baby killer, guys. I'm one of you. I fucking hate Jews too, guys.
You attacked us, so I attacked back, and now you're acting surprised and shocked, and you're doing it all on your podcast live. So naturally, you reacting live is you having an emotional reaction and seeing things that honestly are scary.
I just said I vented about them not defending me. What the fuck is he like? He's actually losing his shit and I just can't believe it, dude.
Should call him up.
So go fuck
yourself. There you go.
I
agree. It's a lot of people.
Fair weather friends who are so happy to be friends as long as they're getting something out of it.
Ian sucks for the same reason right now. He could say something
spineless. Our POV is like, fuck everybody, and I don't want to hear any excuses. You're not my friend, and you never were, and you never will be. You never will be.
What's very insane about this content cop is I was thinking about Ethan's feelings so much in that video. I thought about the idea of like how I shouldn't be saying the term Zionist or Zionism in that video, because I was like, he has explained before that that's personally insulting to him and he doesn't like that. You know, regardless of how true it is, I was like, I'm going to think about Ethan's feelings and not mention this. Fast forward to him reacting to my video, he's just outright calling me a fucking Nazi.
Is it a coincidence that Ian really shaved his head just before doing this video and he's holding a swastika one? I mean, we can free Palestine without being a Nazi. You fucking Nazis. How about that? Well, this is the white savior, Ian, who's just found empathy, unless you're Jewish, of course.
Ethan, people are laughing.
Any takes on that claim there?
Well, I mean, this is the tactic that side does, you know. I mean, you can't be surprised that Ethan is going to do the thing he's observed everyone does, you know.
Yeah, and another point was the sword thing. Apparently, Hassan has what looks like a swastika sword, and he held that up. That was another piece of reasoning why H3 did it. But I think, you know, I think that his co-host probably knew him well enough to know that, you know, he probably shouldn't react to this live, because he definitely was mad. So was Gila, and they have every right to be upset. But you know, maybe it wouldn't have hurt to take a breather and just kind of let it sink in. Because while I don't agree with a lot of...
Hey, it's fucking content. It's probably what they wanted, right? Yeah. Like if I had made a video about somebody who does a live stream, them reacting on live stream to me, I would be like, get the popcorn, you know, like, oh, I'm going to get something juicy out of this, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what you want. If you want to pressure somebody, watching them respond under pressure is what you wanted, you know? So they probably were delighted that he did that.
Yeah. I do think, though, to be fair to iDubbz, I do think that he did, throughout his content cup, did seem like he was a bit worried about, you know, how he affected Ethan's mental. That's why he finished it with a lot of nice things.
Bullshit. Bullshit. I am so sick of seeing that tactic. Like Hassan did that to him throughout the fucking throughout the debate. You know, kept trying to make Ethan seem like he was crazy, taking advantage of the fact that Ethan looked crazy because he was agitated and having, you know, Tourette's tics. The more agitated, the more stressed out he gets, the worse those are. So he was going like, Ethan, and acting like he was dealing with someone having a psychotic break. Dude, that kind of shit, it's gaslighting. When you provoke somebody and then they respond, you know, provoked, respond agitated, and then you tell them that they're crazy and you're completely misreading things. It's like that's a really evil manipulation. And that's something that I see the leftovers style people and Redditors do all the time. They you know, like they cause someone, they're trying to make somebody mad, and then as soon as they get them mad, they act like they're insane.
Yeah, that does happen quite a lot online.
Yeah,
it's like, I can't believe you're flipping out. It's like, what are you talking about? Are you listening to this? Like, how would you feel if this was happening to you? I get that.
And the start of the video is him trying to make him go insane. It's going like, Ethan, wake up. He's taunting him. He's psychologically trying to fuck with him.
Good point. Yeah. And then you throw Frogan in there, and that's really, I think that was very calculated move, putting Frogan in the video.
Yeah, exactly. He was trying to torment him and be like, all of your enemies are here. It's your fucking nightmare. It's literally the skit. It was like, this is your nightmare. Everyone you hate is going to fuck with you. And then the way that could not be that is if they were like, hey, look, it actually isn't a content cop. We're sorry. Right. But no, it was a criticism, the fucking thing. He included a sort of say something nice moment or whatever. Right. But that didn't subvert the point. The point was still to, like Ian keeps saying, get him back for talking shit about him.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You know, I guess
when I heard him say the, like, you know, maybe when you get your shit sorted out and you can address your mental health problems, then maybe we can be friends again or whatever, like that. That is concern trolling.
Yeah, my silence is me saying that I would like to pause this relationship and reassess. Like that was insane to say something like that.
What the fuck is wrong with you two guys? Anissa, Ian, these are your allies. These are your friends. Like, if you just keep eliminating all of your friends and blocking them and banning them from things, then you don't have any friends left. Now you're trying to remake a friend group with an incredibly toxic part of the internet. And that what I thought Ian was trying to do was detoxify. You know, there was all of this messaging and signaling about, I don't want to get involved in super critical content anymore, things that have that propagandize people with rhetoric and then make them go attack the person. He said he didn't want to do that. Now, we all love the fucking content cops, that he was targeting people who it seemed justified to attack. And then he said he didn't want to do that anymore. And so why is he now doing that again, but eliminating all of his allies at the same time? It really, I can't make sense of the strategy of it. It just seems crazy. I'm not concern trolling. It seems crazy to me when I try to understand what they're doing. I can't make sense of it.
It is strange because he was friends with a lot of really, you know, who I would consider to be pretty logical people, and it seems like he traded them all in for a bunch of very illogical people. You know, I know Hassan's super popular, but I mean, Denham's, Frogan, and I don't even know who the black guy was, but you know, these are all random people that he threw into his video. Thank God he didn't bring Mike from PA though. That really, that really would have just.
I haven't seen anything from that guy, but I hear his name mentioned.
That guy is a total mess. If you ever want to find some funny things, I'll send you some videos on him that'll make you laugh. But all right, let's keep going.
How to shave their head and not be called anti-Semitic. I mean, if you're going to critique his podcast or be pissed off that he personally insulted you, even that is enough to be called anti-Semitic. It's fucking crazy. Now, I don't want to talk about Hassan's sword. I don't want to talk about Hassan's sword hilt.
Here we go.
Because Ethan himself basically admitted already multiple times he doesn't think any of us did that intentionally. And he would be right.
Do I think any of them actually like wanted to put a swastika in the photo? No, no. I don't actually think that. The chances that they did on purpose is close to zero, right? So I'm not accusing them.
I picked up a random sword in Hassan's room that was laying around. That could be the end of the discussion. You don't actually need to debate Hassan about the sword hilt.
He lifted it up.
Decision making.
If it was a mistake, he could have deleted it.
But I'm not going to delete the photo because that would be indulging in your weird anti-Semitic fantasies.
We can free Palestine without being a Nazi. You fucking Nazis. How about that?
I'm done being nice to Ethan. I gave it a chance. My sincerity and my empathy in that last video was real. I was even equating to him having crash out moments in the same way that Denham's could have crash out moments. I think we're all capable of it, but he was using it in the video to suggest that I was making fun of his mental health.
To my good friend Ian of 8 years, I really appreciate you weaponizing my mental health against me.
To make Ethan crash out. He's having a parasocial weird crash out. People can have crash out moments. Maybe if Ethan's able to get some help. Dude, I'm not making fun of your mental health. Every example you used was me basically saying that Other people are trying to affect you. It's understandable that you're going through this right now, Ethan. We all go through this.
To characterize anything I'm doing.
All right, hang on.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is not enough empathy, Ian. Like, if you're going to say that you're showing empathy to your friend, and you think that he's going through a difficult time, you don't use your signature critical brand, bring it out of cold storage, get everybody excited for who you're going to criticize, and then drop that on the friend. That is pushing. If you actually were concerned about a friend's mental health, you're going to stress test it to the extreme doing that.
Yeah.
Like that, this doesn't make sense that he's like, oh, I was showing empathy by mentioning at the end that I hope you're not too disturbed by this. Like that's not enough. That's not empathy. That's that's like what, 1 out of 10 on the scale of being aware of the harm that you could be causing. Like that's one step of empathy while doing 9 destruction damage,
It would be like you dropping a thought patrol on a close female friend of yours that you had a slight disagreement on because Content Cop was such a juggernaut of a series, and everybody's been, especially after condemning it so publicly and saying how gross it made you feel as a human, and then you drop it on someone who probably didn't even deserve it.
People were like, who's going to be the target of this? Is it going to be the pedophiles on Kick? Is it going to be Donald Trump? Is it maybe going to be Asmongold?
Elon?
Because they're going to be political and delusional? Yeah, is it going to be on someone who is a major target of criticism, rightly and wrongly, at the moment? Or who's it going to be on? And then it's like, it's on Ethan over some entitled texts that he sent. And we're going to point the collective weaponized fan bases of all of these morally relativistic leftists at him, and then I'm going to throw him a Band-Aid of saying, I hope you go to therapy and work through this. It's like you're throwing somebody like a bandage while you blast them with a bazooka. That's not empathy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm kind of in a similar I feel weird about that because I'm kind of in a similar situation. Like, I'm doing like this big thing on this guy right now, and like I feel like a lot of the stuff that he's been doing has been due to like alcoholism, but at the same time, it's like I've been through addiction, and I wasn't doing half of the shit that this guy was doing while he's struggling with his stuff. So I'm trying to speak from a point of experience, but at the same time, like I'm criticizing him while also being like, I hope you like get help. So I guess maybe I'm not the best person to comment on that, but because I do kind of maybe because the way you described it sounds exactly like what I'm doing. But
okay.
we're also I'm not nearly as big as these guys are. So the words that come out of my mouth aren't as like permanent as stuff that comes out of these guys' mouths.
Well, hey, it's something to reflect on. It's something that I try to think about. It's not always the top priority, and why I make a video, I'm not always like checking in on people and being like, hey, can they handle this? That's not the point. If they're putting something out in the world, I'll criticize what they've put out in the world. But I do think about when I make critical content of someone, is it going to make the situation better? And I try to aim for something that will.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something to think about in what you're doing. If you think it'll improve the situation or discourage other people from going down that route, then that is a worthy goal on its own, even if, it gives somebody a bad couple of days.
That's exactly why I do it. Because I'm trying to, to be like, this is not good behavior, and you're most likely going to get called out for it if you do it. Plus, I wanted to give the people who've been affected by it an opportunity to speak what happened to them, so maybe not as intentionally as I would hope to criticize him, but his actions, I mean, he kind of put this situation into the universe, so I'm just kind of commenting on it. But I appreciate you saying that if you put stuff out publicly, then you're kind of open to that, because I feel the same way,
Yeah. Oh, and the more you address the content, like probably the better. If you think someone is you know, does not have a high opinion of themselves, like doing an ad hominem on them in the moment, like, you know.
Well, he has a very high opinion of himself, but I've kind of fell under a little bit of the same thing that you were dealing with Sniper Wolf, in that people were like, well, you know, you've put out 3 videos on the guy. When's enough? And I'm like, well, that's because I've wanted to put out everything that I found, and while I didn't want to put it all into one video because it would just been overkill, you know, I spaced them out into 2 different videos, and then the third one was just reacting to him calling me a liar. So, you know. I feel like I have a right to do that. If someone calls you a liar, you have a right to explain to people why you don't feel like that's the truth. So, but all right, we'll keep going.
Doing as crashing out that I need help, that I need to get some kind of treatment, is cruel and pathetic on a level I didn't think he would ever be possible of doing.
Every fucking example that you tried to smear me with was me actually pointing to something else that could be affecting you. He even brought up the clip of me saying, if you get help. We all need help. Everyone on this planet needs help. I don't care how you get it. You can wander into the jungle and go on an ayahuasca trip. I don't care how you get your help or what you define as help. But if it helps you, that would be good. Because right now it doesn't seem like you're getting much help. The main criticism that I was seeing online with my video from Ethan and Hila is that I didn't mention the CPS call.
There's really just one central point that I want to make here. My good friend Ian, in his hour-long takedown, did not mention one time Child Protective Services. Not one time.
There was not even one mention of CPS.
And a lot of the clips he uses is us fired up from the day that CPS came to us.
So like
without even explaining that at least that's the context, it's pretty cowardly.
I wonder why I wouldn't mention the CPS call. Could it be that the CPS call happened the same day that you were shit-talking me, and I didn't have any chance to defend myself? You just immediately, in the same podcast, right next to each other, said, CPS call was very traumatic. And then you said, fuck Ian and Anissa. And you linked those together, you kind of layered those flavors, and then Anissa and I got a bunch of harassment. We had nothing to do with the CPS call. What are all these fucking comments on your Reddit saying, like, it happened because of the CPS call? I don't entirely blame your audience for getting confused, because number 1, it's a fucking cult, and number 2, you can't even get the timeline straight.
Can we talk about how crazy it is that he just called them a cult when he literally just joined probably the craziest cult in the world? At least.
Yeah, really. Yeah, so I don't understand why Ian doesn't get this. They were mad at you guys because of the line being crossed with the CPS call. Am I reading that wrong? Like, that's what they were asking them to do, is to speak out in their defense and to at least shut down their employee, ex-employee, associate, whatever, and say, like, hey, can you cool it on the behind the scenes descriptions of their house? You know, like he was asking for assistance on that issue, and them not chiming in like that. It is linked. Why is he, like, did he not understand? And then he just, so what did he think he was asking them to do? This doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I think too, like, I don't think that correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that iDubbz and Anissa have any kids, right? So I don't think they realize just how much of an effect that has on a family when, you know, your kids who you basically live to protect are all of a sudden becoming targeted by, you know, a group of people online, and that could make you feel incredibly helpless. So, you know, I can understand why Hila and H3 and Ethan were like, you know, what the hell, dude? Like, that's our kids. Like, those aren't supposed to be fair game for anybody. Like, they're innocent in all of this. And as a dad myself, like, if anybody like specifically targeted my child, that I'd probably lash out as well. That's like a no-go zone for me.
Yeah, somebody having conversations with their kids without them present, like that's a really uncomfortable thing for any parent, even if you're totally innocent. You know, like, are they going to plant an idea in my kid's mind that that I'm doing something bad to them? Are they going to are the questions going to be leading to them in a way where they'll kind of like read between the lines and think that they're in danger from me? You know, like that's a CPS investigator has got a very difficult job, and they're trained to be sensitive and to not traumatize kids, but it is a risk that they could be traumatized by this, like by experiencing these investigations, by being pulled out of school in front of people to talk to a caseworker or whatever. You know, that can start rumors. It's an intervention that should be used to save kids, and when abused, it can do harm because it isn't helping. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're not helping the kids. You're actually hurting them when you do that without, reason. Those kids are probably going to remember that forever.
It might be putting a thought in their head. The question, I don't know the questions that his local case officers would ask. I don't know what script they would go through with those kids, but like they potentially could be asking something that then the kids get questions and start asking their parents about, and it's it was not justified probably.
No, but he does. I think he does like talk. He's going to go into the shit part. So, and you're an expert on poop at this point, so I'd be curious.
Oh sure, yeah.
Let's see what you have to say when he talks about this.
So if anyone's watching your dumbass, their brain is also going to get scrambled.
Be friends as long as they're getting something out of it. So again, he's not showing the context. What was the okay, I'll play this part. Did you guys ever find the context of what I was talking about here? Because I feel like I wasn't even talking about him. I could be wrong. I just don't remember ever saying like, if I did say that,
I thought you were talking about them, about Anissa and Ian in that clip.
That's the same clip of
it's all the
when
part of the
CPS
same
was
clip.
called.
Yeah.
Same clip.
It's part of the same conversation.
You completely wiped your brain of what happened during the CPS stream. That's not my fucking fault. That's no one else's fault but yours.
All I wanted for you to do was say the bare minimum of like, hey, this is fucked up. This is not true about CPS, whatever, like the bare minimum. It came up because they were talking about it on their fucking podcast. By the way, they're the ones that like started this conversation by talking about it on the podcast. Be like, hey, I'm not getting involved.
I think that was their response after you guys initially called them out.
This is what I was talking about. You cannot have something terrible happen, be like, yes, let's make some content, and then shit talk your friends of 8 years.
I'm so fired up, I don't even know what to do with myself, which is why I'm crying. On that, I don't know if that's a good state to be
in. Well,
in.
hey, maybe you can is the thing. Like, all right, well, hang on a second.
Go ahead.
So if somebody who I'm close with all of a sudden is angry at me and saying that I need to do something to help them, and saying like, Nerd must not be my friend, I thought he was my friend. My response to that would be to get them on the phone, to send them a text and be like, hey, what's up? Let's talk about this. What's going on? I would try to figure it out and be like, hey, why are you mad at me? What's going on? What do you need me to do? It wouldn't be like, how dare they say something negative about me? If I don't know what if I don't understand why they're upset, I would investigate why they're upset. And then he would find out what he wanted them to speak up about. So I don't know, what point is he making here? Like, it doesn't seem logical to me.
Yeah, and you're familiar with like these bigger creator relationships, which a lot of us probably have no experience in. So I imagine when you get up to those upper echelons, that like people's mental states can be a lot more how do I want to say this, paranoid, and that like maybe they feel like maybe they don't specifically fit in, and then that could amplify any kind of anxiety that they may be feeling about a specific situation and overly analyze what's happening. So that's why.
So they talked about it after that. They did have from the content. I can tell that they discussed it by text. Him and Anissa, and then him and Ian were talking about it, and him saying like, "Yo, your editor is saying this shit about us, and we're under all this pressure now with CPS investigating the situation, and they're going too far on this hate community on Reddit. Can you get your people to quit adding fuel to the fire and quit mischaracterizing this?" And then if they didn't think that they should do that, then the response to that might be like still something more empathetic, where you're like, hey, look, I understand this is a lot of shitty pressure, and then you make the points that he made in the video, which is like, you're disclosing things that people can attack you for. So, this is kind of the bed you made. Like, if you're going to say that your kid has got a bacterial infection, then people who hate you are going to assume the worst and lie about how your kid got a bacterial infection. But okay, do you want me to try to, change the narrative on that? Because I've never seen your kid eating dog poop. I mean, I can say that. I mean, that would be my response to a friend behind the scenes. Like, I'm still not getting to the point where I would go, I got to make a video to fuck this clown. How dare he ask me to wade into his oversharing? I'm still not, it's like, turn up the empathy a little more, Ian. Like, that's your friend. You're supposed to still be strategizing with him and helping him figure out how to navigate a very difficult situation.
Yeah, plus iDubbz is treating it like he wanted Ethan to be like a witness on a court stand for him or something, when all he really...
should have never said that fucking empathy thing, because now he rebranded himself as the empathetic guy, and this is not an empathetic guy.
No.
This is a highly dangerous, critical, weaponized friend who turned on his own friend over a slight diss, maybe being blamed too much for what other people are doing. Okay, maybe, but still, that's your friend. And don't you want to keep the friendship? Like, I'm not seeing, like, even more than 1 out of 10 empathy would still be able to see from Ethan's point of view. From his perspective, he's looking for his friends to help him. So as your friend, help him.
Yeah, especially since he's helped you so much. I don't think that's too much to ask for.
Yeah.
We're gonna keep going.
And a lot of the clips he uses is us fired up from the day that CPS came to us.
For anyone confused about the timeline, Ethan was talking shit about us on his Instagram before any CPS shit. He was also talking shit about us on his
he made
podcast
a whole timeline
before any CPS.
This is helpful.
On March 7th, CPS visits Ethan and Hila, and that same day, they decide,
it is a nice timeline.
Let's do our podcast, and let's have the topic be the CPS visit and how distraught we are about that. And then right next to that, right after it, you guys talk about me and Anissa. But you don't just talk about us. You shit talk us, and you imply that we're friends with people who are doing this, who are the ones who are harassing you.
Do you have evidence that H3 Snark called CPS on you?
Did I say that?
Random anonymous Redditors?
Did I say that?
Wait, what's the...
I said they're primary responsible for harassing me.
Who called CPS?
What the fuck?
We know it was them.
So I don't know.
Yeah, he definitely at least makes the insinuation that it was, the H3 Snark. I mean, he did a whole video about the H3 Snark. So,
and there's plenty of evidence that it is. You go to the Snark and they're all justifying it and saying it's morally right to do. The chats are all saying call CPS. There are videos being made by people referencing the subreddit saying that Ethan's kids need to be taken away. It's like the connection is there. That's not a crazy... like you haven't pinned it on a particular person yet, but it is that community, almost certainly.
Yeah. I remember there was people floating around the idea that it was actually Denham's, because her whole chat was like, I'm, calling CPS. Somebody needs to call CPS. And that was like, I think right before it happened, but it is insane.
Oh?
To be honest, I'm very proud that I didn't immediately jump to Ethan and Hila's defense, because when you look into the story, it actually looks a lot shittier for Ethan and Hila. And I do mean that literally. There was this H3 stream where Ethan was dumping as per usual. He was talking about his own health. He was talking about his caca breath, his dog having diarrhea, his dog having giardia.
Olive has giardia. It's a bacterial infection in the intestines that makes you have diarrhea.
His child running around putting things in their mouth.
Sonny's crawling around. He's putting everything in his mouth. He's at that age. He has giardia.
The whole family possibly having giardia.
Oh,
and now Hila has giardia.
Shut. For real?
And now I think this morning I had diarrhea.
Oh my god.
What can I do to not get it? From you?
I'm trying to,
because I'm not trying to get it.
No, it's extremely ridiculous to get. You have to ingest my poop.
Talking about the viscosity of his child's shit.
And meanwhile, he is covered in viscous, low viscosity
Lord.
Diarrhea.
He mentioned diarrhea a lot.
Crazy diarrheas like in the middle of the night. All the time he's having these crazy diarrheas. You wash your hands as best you can, but these are really nasty diarrheas. And then extremely foul smelling diarrheas.
So of course, Ethan, having made so many enemies over the years, other people react to his content. And when other people see that he's talking about his children getting giardia from dog poop.
Sonny's crawling around. He's putting everything in his mouth. He's at that age. He has giardia.
People are quite reasonably concerned. And so, yes, anyone who's seeing that content might be concerned enough to call CPS, including Ethan's own chat, which, by the way, is not a measly number. It's about 26,000 at the time of this stream. So there are 26,000 people listening to Ethan go into great detail over 7 or 8 minutes about diarrhea, viscosity of diarrhea, his child having giardia, him and his whole family having giardia. They're calling it the poop house. Now what Ethan does, instead of taking any responsibility for sharing too much on his live stream, is that he decides to attack specific creators like Denims and say she was the source of the CPS call because her chat was reacting to Ethan. And
before we get to the Denims thing, my take on the poop situation is that you know, if dog poops on the floor and you got a baby that's crawling around, even if you wipe up that poop, you know, really well, there could be, you know, bacterial remnants still laying around the floor. The kid's crawling, puts, you know, its finger in its mouth or something, and then that kid gets giardia. And then you have Gila and Ethan changing diapers. They wash their hands, but, you know, even though you wash your hands, it only kills 99% of the germs, but there still can be something in there.
Yeah, look, it's like when one person gets COVID in the house, you can try to isolate, and it inevitably gets everybody else sick. You know, it's like you're sharing a house and you can try to isolate them and keep them in the other room, but it always seems to, you know, like you're used to living together. Plus, if you're trying to coordinate a dog that's sick, like the dog will come just jump on your lap, or when you're not looking, like the kid would pat the dog. The dog's been licking its own ass and then kisses the kid's face. Like that's what's more likely, is the dog licked its ass and licked the kid's mouth.
Yeah.
Right. So calling CPS over, like look, this is gross and it's embarrassing for certain. But do you need to take the kids out of that home and put them into foster care where terrible things, unfortunately, frequently happen to kids? Like that is better than the worst situations, but that is not a good situation for most kids. So like this diarrhea problem does not warrant, like, maybe an intervention, you know, but it doesn't justify CPS. And he overshared probably I think all of this type of content of live streaming, including their own fucking podcast, is full of oversharing. It's included all sorts of like bathroom private details, you know? So it's like, that is a fair criticism. Like, hey, if you didn't want people gossiping about this, then don't talk about it, you know? But Ethan has always included poop stuff in his content. If you go way back, he would talk about like making Hila come into, oh my God, you're bringing back a memory. I think he did some sausage type stuff. He proposed to her with a fucking butt wipe. Do you remember this?
No, I think that was probably before my time, but
okay, yeah, there was a whole arc on early H3 podcast where he was asking everybody if they use toilet paper or butt wipes. Do you remember this? Does this ring a bell? Like he was interacting with Chris D'Elia and talking about butt wipes and stuff. This is around when I started tuning out. Like I didn't like that joke, but he would constantly talk about like calling Hila into the room when he was on the toilet, and I think he proposed to her when he was sitting on a toilet with shit in it.
I could I could see him doing that. That was before though. I probably got deep into the commentary lore. But yeah,
so in a way, that's like, yeah, like I don't like that, but that's also on brand for Ethan to talk about potty stuff on his show because he always has.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, him and iDubbz were eating chicken and out of dumpsters and down in the sewers. So you know, I did.
They're not known. They're not known as the most sanitary guys who would never talk about something like that.
Yeah, I did a quick lookup of Giardia just to see where you could get it. It says giardiasis is an infection in your small intestine caused by a microscopic parasite called Giardia lamblia. Giardiasis, well, I'm probably butchering that name, but spreads through contact with infected people, contaminated food, or drinking contaminated water. Giardia parasites are found in lakes, ponds, rivers, and streams worldwide, as well as in public water supplies, wells, cisterns, swimming pools, water parks, and spas. Pets, dogs, cats also frequent contract Giardia. So, he might not even got it from the dog. If they have a pool or they have, they could have got it from the water supply. So again, that just speaks to how iDubbz is kind of taking liberties with how this took place.
It probably was poorly explained by Ethan as well, because he said on his show, so he primed his audience to think you had to eat poop to get it. Now, maybe he was saying that to be comical and to make his staff feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
But if people take that literally, then the implication is, well, Ethan's kids are eating the poop.
Well, I do believe that I read a study that said, like, just your toothbrush being in the bathroom will gather, like, fecal matter on
Fecal
it.
matter, yeah, it's disgusting. When you flush the toilet, your fecal matter gets all over your toothbrush. That is true.
So enjoy brushing your teeth tonight, guys. But yeah, so again, when you look at the actual causes of it, it just opens up way more reasons how this could have easily spread throughout his household, and it wasn't just kids picking up dog poop and eating it.
Yeah, or just going back to, it's like, okay, so he's oversharing, and that maybe that's some friendly advice that you could give him behind the scenes to be like, hey, don't talk about stuff that involves your kids that is medical. Like, try to not bring them up, maybe. Making a video using what people call a nuke, it's like, why would you do that to spread that message?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, let's continue.
Saying, wow, this is concerning.
Is on her platform right now advocating for our children to be forcibly removed from us by Child Protective Services.
The problem with this CPS thing is that Ethan has proven to be a manipulative piece of shit. So when he calls on me to defend him, what the fuck am I meant to do? I don't trust you, and I'm glad I didn't trust you, because in your video defending yourself, you used a video that takes context from like 3 different places and combines them to make it seem like someone is coordinating an attack on you.
Love made a good point. You said, is this every comment? I believe this is a live feed of the chat. This isn't edited.
What about the top right? I thought these were
No,
selected.
it's this, I think when you full screen it. No, this is an edit. It's a cutout of the full chat. It's just enlarged there.
Oh, really?
Over the screen, yeah.
They're different, I think.
Yeah.
It's not timed. It's not timed the same way.
But it sounds like, based on this clip, you knew that it was bullshit and you just went with it anyway. Ethan Klein uses this very deceptively edited video that is just like doing this smooth scroll to make it seem like that's all of Denham's chat. But that's not what it is. And then when he's called out on it, he hides it. He moves his window over the real chat.
Also, this is not a joking matter, by the way. It can be very severe and deadly to small children. I mean, much like many other illnesses,
Reading the chat, co-signing
it's very,
it.
very, very dangerous.
Now pay
So
attention
I would
to
assume he
her
doesn't actually
chat.
have a housekeeper anymore, or perhaps he lost his extra housekeeper. So now the house is just like covered in dog shit. And he has kids, and his kids like...
Why does it have to be anyone else's fault but your own?
How do you feel about that? That it wasn't...
Can you rewind that again? What is he doing there? I didn't catch that.
So
what's the manipulation?
If you look at the chat, in the top right he's saying that that's Denham's actual chat, and that the chat coming from that she's looking at, that's probably better.
He said it was an enlargement.
Yeah, but this is apparently the top right corner is Denham's actual chat at the time of this, and then this is a chat from...
Okay, so is that an editing choice where he's like, I'm going to take the worst moment of your chat and I'm going to put it next to the worst moment of what you said? Like, that's something you might do in editing. That's not that manipulative.
Well, his criticism is that iDubbz iDubbz criticism is that H3 covers Denham's actual chat. Watch what happens here.
Matter, by the way, can be very severe and deadly.
See how he pops up there into the top corner, and I guess iDubbz is making the accusation that Ethan is purposely covering that part so that the audience gets it.
Okay, I mean this is just an editorial choice. Unless the chat is forged, then this is fine to be like, read some of what her chat was saying at one point and then listen to what she was saying, because you know the timing might not have worked out in a way that you could get through it in a few seconds instead of having to watch 45 minutes, you know?
I personally think he did it because he was covering Denham's cleavage, so he didn't want. he
was trying to just put himself on screen again, right?
Yeah,
that's the other reason he might have come back up. This is the kind of accusation that I would get really into, but I'm not quite seeing it yet.
Yeah, I need more than this. Let's see if he elaborates a little bit.
Small children. I mean, much like many other illnesses,
reading the chat, co-signing
it's very,
it.
very, very dangerous.
Now pay
So
attention to
he doesn't
her
actually
chat.
have a housekeeper anymore, or perhaps he lost his extra housekeeper. So now the house is just like covered in dog shit. And he has kids, and his kids like...
Why does it have to be anyone else's fault but your own? Take some fucking responsibility. It's just so bizarre that Ethan would expect Anise and I to make a statement when Denham's herself already made a statement about it and said that she does not condone calling CPS.
So we're talking about CPS. 1, I don't condone. 2, I've never condoned it, and you will not be able to find a clip of me saying, yes, we should do this, because it doesn't exist. I've literally given Ethan Klein credit on multiple times or multiple instances, and I will do it again right now, for not showing photos of his kids.
Part of my criticisms of Ethan initially was the openness. I think it's a problem that you were that open, Ethan.
Well, you know, I'm
my
very
God,
open
this is
about
projection.
everything. As part of how I wanted to conduct myself and how I wanted to relate to the audience is to be open as possible about every fucking thing in my life.
It is not strictly a benefit to be as open as possible on your podcast.
Facts.
Ethan was just sharing his thoughts, what we were thinking, we were speculating.
Sonny's crawling around. He's putting everything in his mouth. He's at that age. He has Giardia.
We were speculating.
Oh,
And now Ela has Giardia.
Shut.
Be open as possible about every fucking thing in my life.
Yeah, really? How many siblings do you have?
I don't know, dude. The internet's too fucking weird to give out all that information.
Oh, you don't even want to say how many because you're afraid that it will
Yeah, by all
compromise
means,
your
keep talking
privacy.
about it.
On top of Ethan characterizing me and my wife as...
I think that was strategic because that interview with Bill Burr really fucked up Ethan's head, I guess, and he has said that like sent him into a depression. So maybe he.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because
he was missing the fucking context. Bill was hiding the fact that his brother might be, that he had a brother with the same name, and it turns out it was lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins. That interview has got a whole lot more context to it now. You know about that, right?
Wait, Bill Burr's brother is the guy from the Smashing Pumpkins?
Yeah,
I
probably.
They do look identical. I will.
Exactly, they're half brothers. Yeah. So check out or maybe it's something interesting to watch on stream. Pull up what is his name? Billy. Billy from Smashing Pumpkins. What is his last name? I can't think of it.
Billy Corgan.
Billy Corgan. Okay. So look up Billy Corgan, Joe Rogan. Billy Corgan, Joe Rogan, Bill Burr. And you'll probably find a short that you're going to find very interesting.
Yeah, right. Okay. Joe
Doesn't have to be now, but that'll explain it. Or I can just tell you what happened.
It says last year Billy Corgan told a story about how Bill Burr might be his half brother during a visit to the Howie Mandel Does Stuff podcast after the crew accidentally put up a photo of the comedian behind the Smashing Pumpkins frontman. Most of his friends don't even know this story, Corgan recalled at the time. I mean, they do eerily look very similar.
Yeah, their real dad, their biological dad, was doing that thing some guys do, where they run multiple families behind, like that don't ever meet each other. And there were they'd both been given a talk that they had a brother named Bill. And people can see the similarities, and the dad looks the same to them. Like they've pretty much figured out it's probably true.
I wonder if
and now this got sprung on Bill Burr on the Howie Mandel show. I would not recommend watching that clip because it's very like Bill Burr. You can see in the Ethan thing, he didn't want to talk about it. It embarrasses him.
Okay.
Because he was the one that got the dad most of the time, I think. So he didn't like the news that his dad had been a piece of shit and had sired other kids.
But this right here, though, look at these two pictures, dude.
Yeah, they're the same.
They look exactly the same. But that'll be an interesting thing to look at another time. You're right. But that is a very interesting story.
So that's why, so that's why when, like, it made Ethan look like this terrible interviewer because he couldn't navigate. He's like, why, when I ask him such a basic question, why is he reacting like it's so rude? It threw him, you know, and it was unusual for him to respond like that, but it's unusual for people to have like secret siblings that they're trying to keep under wraps, you know?
Yeah. All right, we'll keep going.
Anti-Semitic. He also takes a dig at my tattoos.
Bro, you literally look like a
I thought this
fucking
was funny.
free tattoo pack that you get for 25 cents from a windy thing, bro. Like, literally, my kids have cooler fucking tattoos from Chuck E. Cheese. Bro looks like he just went to the menu and was like, I'll take that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one.
I have quite a few options here. I can show your tattoos in all of their glory, or I can show that your tattoo made it to the top of awful taste but great execution subreddit, which is not a good thing. I mean, it might be a good thing for the artists that you work with because that means that they did a good job from a technical standpoint, but it's sort of a failure in every other
That is
aspect,
funny, though.
particularly the decision-making aspect. If you want to go tattoo for tattoo, Ethan, we can do that. You want to keep it to other things? We can. I'll give you that option. Ethan also talks about the potential CTE that I might have after boxing.
Yes.
Ethan, your whole system is scrambled.
No, your brain is scrambled from getting punched in the face too many times because you don't understand the situation. Some people are saying the CTE is starting to take effect, I guess. That would be comforting if there was some explanation, at least.
Any amount of CTE that I may have endured after doing 2 boxing matches, I'm going to say is preferred over having to share the load of doing 50 jumping jacks with my wife.
Yeah, what if we do both do them? We'll both do 25 at once.
25 each?
Oh my goodness.
Great form by both.
Really nice. They must work out.
Also, why are you talking about CTE at all? Like, you've continually illustrated that you can't keep track of anything.
It came up because they were talking about it on their fucking podcast. By the way, they're the ones that like started this conversation by talking about it on the podcast. Be like, hey, I'm not getting involved.
I think that was their response after you guys initially called them out.
He can't even keep straight who attacked who first. He thinks that our podcast where we're expressing sympathy for him and Hila was the impetus for him talking shit about us. I much prefer boxing-induced CTE than harassment-induced CTE. Ethan acts like we're such great friends and that like he shared such intimate moments with me, but it's all horseshit. He's lying. Like the whole thing is a fucking lie. He's manipulating his audience. We did not have a close relationship.
You guys were buddies for a long time.
He texted me like one time like, hey dude, we should talk this out. And I was like, I don't feel like having this conversation right now. That's it. So he kept trying to get me on the phone or text with me. And I told him, dude, honestly, I don't feel like having this conversation right now.
Okay.
Fair, right?
Oh.
I just didn't want to do it. Okay?
Just in that particular moment?
And then
or like at all?
Well, it turns out I didn't want to talk to him at all.
Okay.
That's not good.
Okay, I think that's fair for iDubbz to take that as kind of an insult. You know, if you're because he, you know, it feels like one of Ethan's complaints.
Okay, I'm starting to think Ian is not as psychopathic as I thought he was. If he did at least try to talk it out, then that's what I was saying he should have done.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good news.
Yeah. He did try to reach out to Ethan before, and then I guess Ethan's response to saying I don't want to talk about it, and I don't know whether or not at the time if H3H3 was just really obsessed over the CPS stuff or. And then now he's just saying I don't want to talk to him at all. But you know, I could see why iDubbz would be like, "What the fuck, dude? Like, I'm trying to reach out and check on you, and now you're telling me I'm not checking on you." And So I guess it does put a lot more non-psychopathic tendencies on iDubbz.
Yeah, he was following normal friend protocol there.
Yep.
Relationship was that close, you would have talked to me on the phone. You wouldn't have shit talked me. You would be curious where my brain was at and where I was coming from. There's this moment in the content cop where I'm trying to give an example of the cycle of harassment. Have you ever been in a comment section and found someone to argue with? It doesn't stop. It can literally go on forever if you don't want to touch grass.
True.
I mean, yeah, this was kind of... Okay, what does that have to do with me?
I don't know.
Are you okay?
Ethan and Hila act like they have no idea what I'm talking about here. So, I mean, maybe they don't. It's a very obvious and easy to digest point. That's why I made it that way. I'm going to explain it here so everyone on the internet understands. When you have a podcast where you are constantly emotionally dumping and saying things just off the top of your head, and you're attacking other people randomly, maybe from your perspective, it's not attacking. Maybe you're just commenting on someone else's situation.
He's got to be one of the most visually repulsive people. FaZe Banks, like, in my opinion, he's somewhat repulsive to look at.
And be
pedophile. Pirate Software was like weird about it. It's like, look at my old voice, it's so lame. What an obnoxious loser. She goes, I can't believe these people are so obnoxious. And he looks like an idiot who's obsessed with me, dude.
But what happens when other people comment on your situation? It doesn't feel too good, does it?
But he's like, no, actually, Ethan, the fucking Jew bag. Fuck this Jew bag Zionist baby killer, guys, right?
I don't know if that's what the video is.
I feel like he's got.
This is a fair point. This is a good point. That show, Ethan over the years has started. I mean, that's why he has the crew there to kind of reel him in, because he looks for the joke or the honest reaction to everything that he's learning about on the fly. And a lot of that is like super, it's not funny. It's overly critical. It's what we like about him when he can focus it into humor, but it isn't always funny right off the bat, right? Like that's part of why the show isn't the same as his videos. And it is he might not feel like he's burning bridges with all those people, but when they hear that, it would feel like an attack to them. They're like, well, fuck this guy,
Yeah. Sarah Noonan Little for $2 says, what the hell is CTE? CTE is a concussion protocol from people who've had head injuries over the years. So CTE could be a residual from taking a concussion. A lot of football players deal with it. Muhammad Ali, towards the end of his life, was dealing with it really bad. So if you ever want to see...
Punch drunk.
Yeah, punch drunk. It's a good way of, that's another term for it. But a lot of WWE wrestlers deal with it. Anybody who takes a lot of hits to the head, it basically makes you look really foggy. Your brain starts working really slowly. Your motor functions start to go. It's really sad, and that's why now the NFL has like concussion protocol, where before, if the guy could get up and get back on the field, they throw him out there. But now, if he doesn't pass the concussion protocol, then he has to sit out the rest of the game, and it's a way of trying to protect players. But they still
man. When I was a kid playing sports, you'd get your bell rung. The coach would say like, walk it off, and then you get right back in the game, and you had a concussion.
Yep. Especially as a kid, that's when you're developing your brain too. So it's even worse when you're a kid. I think my brother, he was a football player, and I think he's got some mild CTE, because sometimes he just spaces out, or he seems like he can't find the right words sometimes when he's talking to you.
When people bring up the CTE with iDubbz, or they point to the fact that he's mentioned taking SSRIs, it's not. They're not doing that just as a dig. It comes to mind because there is a completely different approach to his thought process than what we were used to. So people are wondering, like, what variable has changed this? Is it is it his medicine? Is it the fact that he's been doing a combat sport? It's not. It is denigrating, because it's like, hey, you were like a super sharp guy that never seemed to miss an angle and ran a tight ship, and now you run a podcast where you also are dumping a lot of personal information out in the public. You've made it so that if someone is going to attack you, there's a ton of stuff to go through there. It's like a lot of things have changed where like the old policies he had have been rolled back, and quite publicly so. Made a bunch of videos saying I'm turning over a new leaf, basically. And that's he picked a fight with his fan base in a way. And so when people bring up CTE, it is like they're searching for a theory that could explain why these massive changes happened.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, because you knew these guys during this time. Anissa was with iDubbz while he was still doing the original Content Cop style, right?
Some of them, yeah.
Okay, because some people were trying to say that it wasn't all her, but maybe her love for Hassan over the years is what pushed her to. I mean, you gotta tell, when they were sitting in the room, her eyes were on Hassan like the whole time that they were together. So
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, she seems like she's like in love with the
smitten.
guy. Yeah, smitten. That's a good way to put it. So some people were joking. I think that personally, now this is obviously just a crazy allegation on my part, and Nerd City has nothing to do with this. This is just me. I think that, at some point maybe Anissa and Hassan have knocked boots or something, maybe when iDubbz was in the other room, because it just seems like she is so incredibly smitten with this guy that, he seems smitten with her too. So, and who knows what goes on when behind the scenes. All right, we're going to keep going.
That is the back and forth I'm describing. You might have thought we were just saying that Ian and Anissa are bad friends. Well, guess what? We didn't take it that way.
Our POV is like, fuck everybody, and I don't want to hear any excuses. You're not my friend, and you never were, and you never will be. You never will be.
What we took it as is Ethan and Neil are shit-talking us. They just implied that we are okay with people using CPS as harassment, and now all of their fans are brigading us. So I am going to respond.
If I heard somebody saying that in a moment of being under pressure, I wouldn't take that at face value. I would think like they're saying this hopefully that this changes. It's like a kid saying like, I hate you. Like they don't mean it. They're frustrated, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of what he was doing. He was having what would you call that? It's like he called it venting or emotional dumping. He's coping. He's going through grief where he feels betrayed by his friends. And he feels that way. So why does he feel that way? Like, investigate that a little bit and see if it's something that you could do to help or make him see differently. And doing a content cop to help him see it is just such a... That's a crazy way to try to help your friend. I don't think it was trying to help him. It was obviously trying to attack him,
Yeah, I feel like it was overkill. I feel like a lot of people have met someone in their life who, whenever you get into an argument with them, they just say the most mean thing they can out of frustration, and just to kind of make you feel as bad as they feel in that moment too. So I
also think about the fact that these guys do know each other behind the scenes. There are tons of private conversations, whether they are text messages or conversations they had before and after shooting, over dinner. There's a lot of context that is not being referenced here. And Ethan wasn't going full attack mode, really. Like when he's saying, like, I guess you weren't ever my friend, like, he's not building a case, crossing the line there, I don't think. And I don't think he meant that. I think he's just like kind of, I think he was even looking at Hila in that moment and being like, these aren't our friends. Like we would have done something for them. They're not doing it for us. This is not reciprocal. We need to make new friends is kind of the thing that a couple might say, but if the other couple does the right thing, then you're back in business, he wanted them to do something. And they didn't want to do it. And it's like that. It didn't mean they were enemies,
I think a way maybe physically explaining it would be like if you're walking with your buddy and he gets jumped and you jump in to help fight off the guys that are attacking him, but then you get jumped and your buddy just runs as fast as he can away. You're going to be like, dude, like,
yeah.
Did you ever have my back? I totally understand why he feels the way he does.
Yeah.
And make a content cop. So yes, that is what the cycle of harassment looks like.
Okay, what does that have to do with me?
I don't know.
How about you fucking Nazis? How about that?
You might think that all of the harassment you're getting has everything to do with your politics and your idea of Israel-Palestine, but a lot of my gripes were centered around you dragging me into your shit. You know, you knew that you were going through a lot, and you were saying, I'm hurting, I'm now going to make them hurt because they're not putting their head on the chopping block. Fuck you, you're a piece of shit. I'm sure there's anti-Semitic people that are attacking you guys, but they're not me, they're not Anissa. It's not Hassan, it's not all of these other creators that you're attacking. You're not the biggest victim on the internet, Ethan. Other people can experience a horrible fucking time. And guess what? They're not getting this other benefit, which is 26,000 viewers. You're getting a lot of money and a lot of content, a lot of things that you care about from these beefs and from this harassment. There are a lot of people that you've just bullied and they have nothing to gain out of it. Frogan isn't making a bag from this. She's not getting content out of this. You're attacking her in relentless ways and endorsing so much worse harassment than what even you send her way.
The shit he said.
I think that Frogan is definitely 100% getting content out of this. You know.
Yeah.
Just being.
What is he talking about?
Just being in a beef with H3 is gonna get you views. You know, and I think this has been the best thing that could have happened to Frogan is being involved in this because she, you know, she was forgotten for a while.
Raised their profile. Yeah.
And posted about Frogan over the past years is like insanely nasty shit.
Yeah.
Worse than anyone I've seen. If this is true, absolutely mind-blowing, insane shit.
Hold on. It's not worse than anything you've seen. How could it be worse than anything you've seen?
Literally, no. I guess
he was
not.
very nasty. Well, I'm just saying, people like fucking want to like lay down and fucking like.
I'm talking about specifically against Frogan.
But like he called her fat, right, and ugly, which is horrifically mean. I get called a fucking baby killer.
I was talking specifically about
That's way
Frogan.
worse than being called fat and ugly, in my opinion.
Also, on top of Ethan and Neela constantly victimizing themselves, I did notice that as soon as we didn't immediately jump to Ethan and Neela's defense, Ethan took that to heart and he started to make that his employees' problems. Instead of just, you know, sucking it up and taking it on himself, he decided to imply that Lena is going to have a problem with that.
A lot of this has ramifications for the crew. The way that they have it set up is basically if Lena were to drop out, she would lose, like, she would have to pay back like $25,000 or something like insane. And besides that, which I told her I would cover if she wanted to drop out, she's been working really hard. And just because I'm having an issue with what's going on here.
You bringing up Lena dropping out of the fight was you publicly showing to your fans, like, I don't approve of this. You were saying this shit before the content cop even came out.
Which I told her I would cover if she wanted to drop out.
But now you are saying that you didn't have a problem with any of it until I made the video.
I was totally on board until the organizer put out a video calling me a psychopath for harassing his friend.
Obviously, Ethan and Neela will victimize themselves every chance they get. But when they have the chance to victimize someone else who's on their crew, they'll also do that.
I think that's fair. I think that was a fair criticism. What do you think?
Well, AB, Lena is AB's wife or girlfriend or something, right?
Yeah.
So when AB said that she was dropping out, it was because she felt like she couldn't promote the event or talk about it without people telling her to drop out or attacking it. And I think that would have happened whether or not Ethan brought up that could be awkward for her. I don't know if this is fair to blame him for. People perceive a backstab here and that these teams aren't in alignment, and that Ethan would have had to bend over backwards to make people not see it that way and go like, look, I still want her to promote this and still please show her support. And it's like, that's asking a lot of Ethan in this conflict to still prime the audience of his own show to support his enemy's event. So, like, this is not Ethan being a scumbag or a tyrant. It's just kind of, I think he even is being a good boss by saying, you've been put in an awkward situation, I'll bail you out of it financially. You know, I feel like he's being a good guy.
I think like what I think made it fair for me was that Ethan was kind of saying before even the content dropped that Lena was gonna leave the event, and then after he drops the content cop, Ethan was like, "Oh, I was supporting this thing the whole time," when you clearly saw that he wasn't. So that's.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, if at the screen he put the text up there. They didn't say it in there. So if you had looked away for a second, you would have missed it. But that's why I think it was a fair criticism, because obviously he was not supportive of this the whole entire time, because you just heard him talk about Lena dropping out before the content cop was even made. Then after the content,
this is so avoidable, isn't it? It's like these guys are in business together over the years and involved in this event and reputationally. Like this didn't need to be content. It kept the slop troughs filled, you know, like we're talking about it now, and it's content for you, and it's something to think about to get through the day. But this doesn't feel like something where anything's being accomplished that's productive. It feels destructive for no reason.
I think they're making a shit ton of money off of this. Both of them probably making good money off this beef. So at least
I don't know. In the long run, like, well, he had to quit the fucking creator clash. Like, I don't think that's what he wanted to do.
No.
I don't feel like this is working out perfectly for Ian and Anissa. I think this was a misstep, a gamble to try to to persuade their shared audience to come over to my side and ignore, support our thing, come be interested in our stuff, watch our podcast, come to our event. And it isn't getting that result. And that's why they left the show or whatever. So like that, I see that destruction, and it's like, well, you didn't have to take such a gamble. There were other ways you could have promoted this, like just made memes and focused on the rivalries of the boxers, not your own rivalry with your friend,
Unless iDubbz saw this ending up like the last like Creator Clash 2, where he was going to take a financial bath, and he's just jumping off shit before it gets to that point.
Well, that's another conversation to have. It's like some people were already honing in on ticket sales and the size of the arena, and seeing that it wasn't going that well. So it wasn't in a great situation off the bat. I think the better thing to do would have been to focus on the rivalries of the boxers and use his talents with making memes and making videos and making people care about things to make them care about those fights.
I agree.
He could have done that. He could have done some marketing, continuously putting other people in the spotlight, because a lot of those fighters and matchups no one had heard of. Like they were lesser known creators. So if you can get people invested in them, then that would sell tickets. Now he's always had a strange philosophy about boxing, where he says he thinks that people are most interested in the narrative of whether somebody has worked out or not. I wonder if I fucked this up in his head, because like way back in the day, I had this conversation with him when he was gonna fight Rice Gum, where I said, you should there's two things you should do. You should either film a bunch of videos where you're getting in fantastic shape and it looks like you're ripped, and then show up for the fight skinny and starved and emaciated, where you don't look anything like the promotion. That would be funny.
That would be funny.
Or film a bunch of videos where you look like you can't, you've got no skills on the bag, that you are super thin, like pre-film all of that, release it right before the fight, but then show up to the fight shredded and way more talented than your opponent thought. I'm like, dude, confound expectations by doing that. And then every time he's talked about why people are interested in fights, it seems like he's focused on that aspect, this how much did someone prepare aspect. And that's not, dude, that's, if you're into boxing, that's not what people care about. What people care about is justifying the violence. They want to know, like, this guy said this thing about that guy, well, he deserves to get his face rearranged over that,
Yeah.
Or they relate to the racial aspect. It's like a white guy versus a black guy. It's a classic fucking trope. So that's what they care about. It's not that, it's not like, oh, these two friends are going to do violence to each other for a charity and then hug it out afterwards. Like that isn't what sells. That isn't what sells fucking boxing pay-per-views.
Yep.
There's no precedent for that, right?
Yep. Mad Rambles for 10 says, this is my first donation in ages. This is for helping Pecan and exposing a scam baiter. Thank you, Soul Rocks. Thank you so much, Mad Rambles. I appreciate you, brother. And thank you for the donation. Yeah, so, I mean, I think you're right. If they took a lot of tips that the UFC fighters, they're really good at this. Doing those press conferences where they started or almost manufacture a beef, almost WWE style, but approach it in a much more realistic way. I think that's I definitely think there's an angle there that would make this way more interesting, you know. And then if they don't have the audience reach that iDubbz has, then use iDubbz's channel to push those rivalries so that people want to see whose mouth's going to get shut. I think it's such a basic concept, and it blows my mind that it escapes Ethan, but you know who's good at that?
It escapes Ian. Well, Keemstar's good at it.
Yeah,
well, you know what fucked it up? Well, I see it the same way that he does. You know, like as someone who watches boxing and who is pragmatic about things. I think what fucked up Ian's ability to see that the way that it normally works and to be like, okay, I got to do that too, is they are very controlling about their event and they don't want anyone going there who they don't like. They don't want to have to party with them afterwards. They don't want to be involved in their training or deal with someone who's like a bad guy to them. So they basically purified the card. And then what does that leave you? That doesn't leave you people who are natural enemies, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, okay, well, that's great. Let's see how good they got at boxing, I guess. But this is why Keemstar's Boogieverse Wings was so everybody wanted to see that fight, because one, it's like an oddity, you know, it's a side show, it's a freak show, and two, you know, they were kind of having a back and forth, building it up, and that's where Keemstar thrives, where you know, it seems like iDubbz doesn't. So
I feel like he tried to reinvent the wheel there, and it you know, that it hasn't worked yet for me. The first event was a well-produced show. It was good. It was certainly as good as anything the Paul brothers have put on.
Yeah.
But what I didn't, you know, I wouldn't say what I loved about it was this idea that everybody likes each other. Like that if anything, that's complicates it psychologically for me. Like I don't want to see brothers beat each other up.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. I did laugh though when the guy from what was Super Mega fought Dad, and then Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan fell for it.
Yeah, he thought it was like
his dad beat this up. Exactly, dude. Like that. How repulsed Joe felt is a little bit of what we feel when two friends are potentially breaking each other's nose. You know?
Yeah.
Like it's a violent. They should want to kill each other.
I agree. All right, we're in the home stretch here.
You already forced Lena into this horrible situation. And again, you forced this situation on her.
Why would I do such a thing to Lena? Dude, you have as much agency as I do. You didn't have to badmouth me on your podcast. That was a choice that you made.
So go fuck yourself.
I agree. My good fucking friends who I stood by after all these fucking years can't find a spine to speak up.
Oh, the organizers of this event are not jumping to my defense? All right, well, maybe instead of shit-talking them, maybe I should zip it.
So go fuck yourself.
I agree. You already forced Lena into this horrible situation. And again, you forced this situation on her. By the way, iDubbz, Lena's fucking having a panic attack.
So go fuck yourself.
I agree.
But you're just lobbing it to me and Anissa. I'm lobbing it back to you. You're the one who brought it up. If you lob it back to me and you say, well, I didn't have your back publicly. Well, fuck you. I'm going to lob it back and say, you're being irresponsible on your podcast and you're not taking any accountability for the shit you're putting out online. I think that's going to do it for this video. There's a lot more that I can share, but I'll save that for the future. And in closing, I will reiterate so that, you know, there's no ambiguity about it. Anissa and I are no longer involved in Creator Clash. We're stepping down completely. We hope that the event is a massive success this year. We hope that all of the fighters get what they wanted out of it. I'm sorry that I'm such a fucking nasty person who just wants to roll around in the shit. I'll put the link to Creator Clash down in the description if you want to support them in their mission to get creators to fight and raise money for charity. you can do that down there. I will be doing that on my own, and I hope you guys have a good time. Also, for all the people who touch grass, I want to remind you to click the like button on this video. Not so it goes in your algorithm or anything, just specifically so that we can add a counter narrative, or I can get an idea of how much astroturfing is out there, because I know that a lot of these fuckers, they love their dislike button extensions. And I saw that shit and I was like, what the fuck? These are all like fabricated numbers. The like-dislike ratio was like 80-20 on my video, and then they tried to create a narrative of like, no, people actually hate this content cop, guys. It's actually so much worse. Like, bitch, like, people were more upset with, like, my wife being on OnlyFans. You're not gonna convince the internet that fucking Ethan Klein isn't being a piece of shit. Like, sorry, guys. It doesn't matter how many dislike extensions you have.
We can free Palestine without being a Nazi, okay? Yeah, fuck you guys too, okay? How about you?
Yeah, I think
Nazis?
if he installed that plugin, it would scrape the correct numbers from him, and then it would correct it. So, like, I would tell him to do that.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that those extensions are just all probability, you know, counters, and they're not accurate. But I mean, I don't know.
But they're right. I've tested it before, and it's right if you have it installed. Like if you have it installed in the browser that you use to log into YouTube Studio, I think it scrapes your like to dislike out of the studio, and then it feeds it into the extension.
Interesting. So what? It takes like all your videos and kind of guesses what.
Yeah, because it's something that YouTube will tell. Well, no, it does that if you don't have it installed. It does it based off of an algorithm for how many people with the extension installed are pressing like or dislike, but that'll always skew towards dislikes because the type of people who want an extension that shows dislikes are pressing dislike disproportionately versus the control, the average YouTuber. So if you install it, it will grab the correct numbers that YouTube will only tell you.
Oh, okay.
If you're the YouTuber, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, people have been obsessed with that ever since they removed that function, I guess.
Yeah, man, they should have never fucking done that. And I think part of why Reddit is now a hate forum is because they did that. When people could just see dislikes and knew that the comments weren't like super curated. Like if they could just see that other people felt the way that they did, they could kind of just politely move on. But you're leaving a lot of kind of frustrated people out there who want to find other people who also hated it, you know? So they go to find a community where they bond over hating something. Whereas before they could just be like, look at that, we all hate it. You know?
I think that would be a very interesting topic to hear you cover, because I think you're on to something there.
I said that to YouTube. I was fighting. Listen, behind the scenes, I fucking spent a lot of let's say psychological capital on trying to convince YouTube that there were going to be unforeseen consequences of removing the public dislike count. I'm like, that it's going to create more hate communities. It's going to create more hate targeted dislike bombing. I'm like, you shouldn't remove that. Also, it's going to protect a lot of bad actors. I made a bunch of cases for it, and some people listened to me, and obviously it didn't win the argument. So, yeah, I tried behind the scenes to keep that counter, because I did see exactly this happening, and I think I even said it's going to send people to Reddit and to forums to go talk about this and look for other people thinking the same thing. If they don't trust that the comments and the dislike are reflecting the negativity that they're feeling, if they think that that's all curated and whitewashed, they're going to go find a community that sees things their way. So you got to leave that when you got to leave the dislike up, because it's the honest reaction of the community. If you hide it, then they're going to go bond over it somewhere else.
Yeah, I think you're right. Rebecca Black, actually, and sometimes it could, ironically create a superstar, like I did for Rebecca Black by people hating her music videos so much that she ended up becoming a celebrity from it. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of reasons why they got rid of the public counter, and I don't think that they properly thought about the the downsides.
Yeah.
I think the downsides far outweigh the embarrassment that brands and Rewind and harassed people feel as a result of the dislike bomb. But I also didn't think that was happening as much. I feel like things have gotten even more toxic since then. Don't you?
Yeah. Oh, there are all-time toxicity levels. It seems like X is a bastion for negativity as well, you know?
Yeah. When they did that, I wasn't using Reddit the way that I used to when they removed the dislike button, but I don't think it was as bad as it is now at that point. I feel like it's like a completely different site at this point.
Yeah, because maybe before people were thinking, oh, look, this guy's video's disliked into oblivion and he knows it sucks. But now it's like, I don't know if this guy knows his video sucks. So now I have to make sure that everybody within an earshot can, you know, hear my opinion on why I think this thing sucks. So
it's kind of like I want to make sure that people, like, I've seen something that I want to make sure people know is there. Like, it's a danger. Like, if you've spotted that someone is lying, or if someone is manipulating, or, you know, like whatever your grievance is with somebody, you want to make sure that there's a natural human instinct to tell the community that you saw it. So like if the dislike button just kind of quietly and politely did that, you know, it would warn people that there's more to this than there seems, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. You also need to tell YouTube to let Big Bungie come back, because
I am trying. I'm fucking trying, man. I'm gonna keep trying. But my first attempts are not working.
Well, I was good because I wanted to ask you about that, because I think what happened. I mean, I know he's edgy, but damn, I guess maybe there was like this story that came out where it was like all these English people were getting kind of lit up by the law, and I wonder if he got wrapped up in that or something, but. I just wanted to ask you, what are your opinions on the touch grass comment that he ended the video with? Because I feel like that is just tone deaf as hell.
I'm tired of hearing that. And it usually comes from people who are like causing the stress, you know, that's like you're trying to transfer power away from somebody. You're trying to like cancel them or ruin their career. And then you're going to tell them they need to go, they're making too big of a deal about it. That doesn't seem totally appropriate. I mean, it's good friend advice. The part about you're oversharing on your podcast and you're fixating too much on the criticism, maybe. I think that's true. Like, Ian did make some points that I think are the right take.
Yeah.
It doesn't completely align with his own participation in it, his own acting as whether he's a catalyst or whether he's responding to a fucking Ethan lashing out at him. I would say that the amount of criticism that was coming from Ethan and Hila is just, it was kind of like generic lashing out. It really wasn't a declaration of war. So I still don't think it was justified. I didn't know that he'd tried to reach out to them behind the scenes, and that does make me less sympathetic to Ethan now, knowing that he ignored the calls. I didn't know that, so that wasn't the right thing for Ethan to do. Like I was saying, why don't you call him and talk it out? And that's what it sounds like Ian was trying to do. So that removes a big objection I had to this.
Yeah. I think so. You know, you're a busy guy. You know, I don't imagine you can pick up every different detail ever. You know, so if you ever need any context, just hit me up. I'll find out what you need to know about it. Because I'm kind of in the mix with a lot of this stuff because of the streaming factor, and a lot of people keep me. Also, I have some absolute educated drama people in my chat, so I could just ask them, specifically Sylvie, who seems to know every single thing that goes on in the commentary community. So, well,
why didn't you correct me? Because I was going on a whole spiel in the beginning. I'm like, why wouldn't a friend just call a friend? Did you know that he tried?
Yes, but I you know, you're I figured you'd eventually find
You
out.
you can interrupt and give me context. I didn't fucking know.
Listen, man, I got respect for you. I don't want to correct you. I usually I don't want to assume you don't know something, but a lot of times, you know, you know, you heard it and then you figured it out. But I mean, and plus, I wasn't 100% sure until I heard it again, because again, this is like my first time watching the whole thing through, so I didn't want to like correct you if I was wrong too. So that's both of us were kind of learning that as it happened. But
word,
dude, you're the man. Thank you so much for coming on, dude. By the way, if you guys haven't seen my video with Nerd City where I interview him, he's awesome. It's this 2-part series. If you ever wanted to know more about him as a creator, first I'd go watch his content so that the interview matters to you. Because if you don't know much about what he does, then you're just gonna hear him talking. But
you're yapping.
Yeah, if you watch his content and then listen to him, it makes a whole lot more sense. So I would highly. Plus, you know, his content is amazing. He's the reason I do this. So honestly, you should be thanking everybody who likes watching me. Thank Nerd City, because he's a huge reason why I even started in the first place. Anything else you want to add, my brother?
No, thanks for letting me call in and forcing me to watch this. I don't know if I would have had the patience to do that otherwise, but yeah. All right, thanks, man. I'll talk to you later.
Anytime, brother. Anytime. Open invite to you. All right, that's Nerd City, everybody. The legend himself. Let's give the man a round of applause here.